Wagwan, UFC flyweight Ode Osborne here, and we're gonna go over the UFC fight night, Adesanya versus Pyfer. Man, what a card. Something was in the air in Seattle, Washington, man. I almost said Salt Lake because every time they fight in Salt Lake, it's like this. But something was in the air in Seattle because this fight card was a banger. Oh my goodness. So we're gonna go ahead and go over some of these fights, all right? I'm not gonna go over the whole card, but I will pick some of the fights from the prelims to go over. There's a couple of them that I do want to go over. So I'm gonna pick about 2 to 3 fights on the prelims. So let's start with the Ricky Simón Adrian Yanez fight, because that fight definitely, there was some controversial opinions on this fight because I personally thought Adrian Yanez won the fight. I'm good friends with both fighters, love Ricky, love Adrian, but I thought Adrian won mainly as, he dropped Ricky in the 3rd round and almost finished him. It was 1-1 going into the 3rd. And with it being 1-1, when you drop somebody like that, almost finished them, in my opinion, that should be a 10-8 round. So I thought it was Adrian Yanez unanimous decision, because again, the name of the game is to damage your opponent. The name of the game isn't to hold your opponent. The name of the game is to beat your opponent up, beat him or her in every aspect. And the fight was really close, in my opinion. Man, Ricky was landing some great heavy shots on Adrian during the fight. They were neck and neck. That's why I said it was 1-1 going into round 3. And the round 3 deciding factor obviously went to Adrian Yanez. Now, with the fights being in Seattle, Washington, and Ricky Simón being from Seattle, Washington, I'm going to say that holds some weight because in my eyes, Adrian Yanez won that fight. And if I see Ricky, he's my boy, I'm going to tell him, like, look, man, I thought Adrian won, you know what I mean? Ricky didn't get destroyed. I thought it could have gone either way up until he got dropped in the last 10 seconds. The fight was draw up until the drop. But moving on. All right, let's go over, Casey O'Neill. What did I tell y'all? I said Casey O'Neill has been, going through a lot with her injuries. And I know that she's been gunning to get another win, especially a finish. Casey O'Neill is a dog, man. And I know she's been going through a lot with, being injured back to back, man. It sucks. And it's no minor injuries, too. She blew her knee out, I want to say twice, back to back. And to do that twice is, as a fighter, it could be a little bit demoralizing. So I was happy, man, because she put the hands on Gabriela Fernandez. She came out heavy like I said she would, and backed her up against the fence. And when Casey had her up against the fence, she was just 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 straight down the pipe and ended up finishing her just like I thought she would. So shout out to Casey O'Neill. That was an amazing finish. The last fight that I'm going to do on the prelims is Chase Hooper versus Lance Gibson. And the reason why I'm doing this fight is because that was such a spectacular fight and finish by Lance Gibson. Yeah, the ref stopped the fight a little bit early, but when you eat a knee like the one Chase Hooper ate, Lance Gibson had him in a clinch, hit him with a nasty elbow over the top. Chase dropped like a bag of potatoes, and then he got back up. Lance had him in a front headlock, kneed him flush to the jaw. Again, Chase dropped like a bag of potatoes, and the ref jumped in. Yeah, Chase had some fighting him, you know what I'm saying? But of course, guys, from you guys watching it on a third person's perspective, you're gonna say the ref stopped it too early. When you get blasted with a knee like that, and you are as tough as Chase Hooper, yes, some can say the ref stopped it early, but at the same time, your job as a ref is to give a fighter more years on his life. And that's exactly what the ref did because, man, those 2 shots, the bang with the elbow and the bang with the knee, was just too much damage, you know what I'm saying? And I think he would have taken even more damage on the ground if the ref didn't jump in, personally. So I'm glad, that the ref did what he did because, again, man, We want these fighters to be healthy at the end of the day, because otherwise, if they're not healthy, how are they supposed to fight? Moving on, just like I said, Terrence McKinney, first round KO. Just like I said on my last breakdown. If y'all seen my last breakdown, I literally said Terrence McKinney was going to come out and put the bangers on Kyle Nelson, and he did exactly that. Man, he came out and did what Terrence McKinney does best. He goes, the first round, Terrence is the most dangerous first round fighter in the UFC. Hands down, no questions about it. Now, if you could survive that first round, you may stand a chance. But if you don't know that Terrence is going to come with the heater in the first round, man, you look, I don't know what you're doing, because that was spectacular, man. He just came, look, Terrence opened up so big with that. I think it was a 1-2. Somehow he got him to the ground, and then it was just hammer fist, hammer fist, hammer fist, hammer fist. Man, MC Hammer was in there like, hammer time, hammer time, hammer time. Yeah, he was, man. Terrence hit him with like 8 or 9 hammer fists. Just like I said was gonna happen, happened. Terrence made me look like a genius. All right, let's move on. Mansour Abdul Malik versus Usari Belgoriu. I still have a hard time saying this guy's name, but man, this was hard for me to watch because first round was good. Second round started to look a little rough for Mansour. You know, it almost seemed like Mansour was a little bit, as Conor McGregor would say, it seemed like he was stuck in the mud, just a little bit behind, you know, a little bit slower than Usari. Usari seemed like he was one step ahead every time on the strikes. You know, he was using his reach very nice, and every time Mansour would try to land a big strike, he was out of there. Man, Usari looked phenomenal. I thought Mansour was going to beat him. Mansour looked a little bit off, looked a little flat during this fight. But Usari, not taking anything away from him, he looked damn good, man. He looked so good. The way he was kicking Mansour's calves and beating those perennial nerves up in his legs was crazy. I thought for a second that Mansour was going to get stopped by calf kicks, but he weathered the calf kicking storm and made it to the third round. But eventually Usari finished him, and it was one of those fights where it was almost like I hated watching it because I love Manny. You know, I see Manny all the time at the PI. Such a nice guy. Mansour is a very nice guy, but it was one of those fights where it was almost like it was the inevitable, because you could see the downhill spiral, you know, from round 2 to round 3, the way that Usari was picking him off, and he got the job done, man. So hats off to Usari. All right, moving on. Yo, Larian Douglas versus Julian Rosa was incredible. Incredible. I told y'all, when I watched Larian Douglas, when I watched him fight on Contender Series, I watched him fight live, and he had a way about him. He had a tenacious way about him that I said to myself, man, this guy, Larian Douglas, is going to be a problem for this division, because he has such just a fierce, tenacious way when he gets to striking. And I love to see that, man. I love to see guys get in there and just, they got that mentality. And, you know, Julian Rosa, I think, was trying to get some stuff off, you know what I'm saying? And he just wasn't in it. He just wasn't in it. Larian was a little bit faster, a little bit more technical, and a little bit more savvy than Julian was during this fight. But Julian, you know, he fought the best that he could to his capabilities, but just wasn't enough. And Larian Douglas put the hands on him, man. And ref had to intervene, which the ref did a good job, because it was the beginning of the end. So good job. Hats off to Larian Douglas on that fight. Again, Cub Swanson's guys, man. Cub Swanson had Danny Silva, who just fought on UFC London, who looked phenomenal. And now he just had Larian Douglas just now, who looked phenomenal. So Cub, whatever you doing, keep doing the damn thing, all right? He producing some fire fighters. All right, yo, moving on. Michael Chiesa versus Nico Price. Rarely do you get to see guys fight their last fight in their hometown and get a W like the way that Chiesa did. Man, you couldn't have written this script any better. Michael Chiesa not only was on a 3-fight win streak, but he got to fight his last fight on his UFC contract in Seattle, Washington. And the way that he wrapped Nico Price up was amazing, man. It was bar none. Michael beat him on the feet, and then he beat him on the ground, and then he rode off into the sunset, for his last fight of his career. And, hats off to Michael Chiesa. He did a lot for the UFC. I've been watching Michael Chiesa for a long time. He fought one of my teammates, Anthony Pettis, when I was training with Anthony Pettis. I'm sorry, I don't think they fought, actually. They were supposed to fight, and the Conor McGregor Khabib thing happened with the Dolly. And then it got rebooked, I believe. And then him and Pettis ended up having a rematch. I think that's how it went. But anyways, eventually him and Pettis fought, and Anthony beat him, submitted him. But man, I've been watching Chiesa for a long time, so it was really, really good getting to see someone who you grew up watching, right off into the sunset on a high horse, on a high note. Because a lot of the times, a lot of these fighters, when you see them have their last fight in the UFC, it's usually on like a 3-fight losing streak or something like that, 2-fight losing streak, and they want to have their last fight, and they end up losing their last fight, and you know what I mean? It's never on their high horse like Chiesa had. So hats off to Chiesa on that victory. That was a very spectacular finish, and I'm glad he got it. Now, what do you think about Nico Price? Is Nico done? Like, what's up with Nico Price? Do you think he retires after this? Because, his last couple of fights hasn't looked impressive. And when I say impressive, I don't mean the fact that he lost. I just mean you can tell when a fighter doesn't have any more juice, when they're not like, bah, 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 bah. They're not firing on all cylinders. You could fire on all cylinders and still lose fights because it's the UFC. Every fighter is tough. But Nico Price just hasn't seemed